What's up? Thank you for being here with WazzupSports. This is show number 2. It's October the 5th, 2020, and we're going to be talking about a bunch of games that happened this weekend and today. We're going to start off with the 49ers and their unexpected loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Entering into the game, we know we had a lot of injuries. The Eagles did as well, but not as many as us. We had a lot of key players missing. Um, Now we're 2-2, even though we are a 7-point favored, and we're 2 games behind the NFC West leading Seattle Seahawks, whom look very good at 4-0. We have some pros and some cons from the game that we're gonna highlight here. So that's what we're gonna be doing.
So, our first con is Mullins' terrible game.
Nick Mullins, oh my God, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble. Um, he just held on to the ball too long at times. The fumble was caused by defender's helmet that was blitzing. 2 interceptions. One was a pick six at the end of the game that kind of tilted it towards the Philadelphia Eagles, and the other one was untimely while we're driving in the red zone. So we took points away from the 49ers. Not to mention the opening drive. Shanahan likes to script his first 15 plays or so, and there was this one play where Huchek uh, faked or ran across the line, threw out to the flat, had a linebacker on him across the defense, kind of like a fullback pick play almost, where he was wide open, and it was like 10 or 15 yards. And all Mullen had to do was just dink the little ball over the linebacker, and Huchek would have had probably an 80-yard touchdown. He's going to outrun that linebacker because nobody was in the play. Everything was going to the right, and he was going to the left. He was wide open, and Mullins missed him bad. He was very jittery. You could tell he was nervous for, his, I don't know, first start this year. So Mullins had a bad game. We don't want to kill the guy because he's young, but he had a bad game, and there's a reason why he's a backup quarterback. And all those people out there saying, "Oh, Jimmy G, we know Mullins is better." I mean, Jimmy G isn't perfect, but you saw what happened with Mullins yesterday when he faced a solid defense with a pass rush. Um, and that's what the Philadelphia Eagles had yesterday.
Yeah, another thing that factored in our loss was our O line's performance.
All right, so I was just talking about the O line. Obviously, McGlinchey, man, he's got to really look in the mirror. He had a horrible game. It seemed like he was on his heels the whole night defending the pass rush. And as an offensive tackle, in a pass play, you got to be the one instigating the violence. You got to hand check the guy, get him out of your face. He's on a counter. You got to stay on your toes and keep leverage. But it seemed like he was playing too tall, and the other guy was getting underneath him, getting the corners, and really wreaking havoc on Nick Mullins. Uh, Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about on the left side our All Pro, All World Trent Williams. I don't know what's going on with this guy. He had a horrible game yesterday, in my belief. I think he allowed 2 sacks and pressures all night. He had a costly false start when C.J. Beathard was in there after we replaced Mullins under 2 minutes because Mullins was just he played horrible. So C.J. Beathard went in there and the first play, mind you, they're playing at home, no crowd, no noise, nothing, and you shouldn't have a false start as an offensive lineman at all. In fact, it's a defensive line that should have that false or encroachment, depending on how the quarterback, changes his noise, inflicts sound, tries to kind of juke them out or whatever, or just kind of make them twitch. But it was us yesterday. Our offensive line did not play good.
Another thing that helped this Eagle teams beat us was our cornerbacks.
Well, yeah, our poor DB's out there. I mean, Verrett, it's his second game starting, you could say, for us this year. Sherman is still out. Witherspoon is out. Um, Mosley was out. I mean, we were playing with a practice squad um, secondary. I mean, minus the 2 safeties, of course. And I just read today that Johnson, who got burned on that long pass towards the end of the game, he was actually playing with a pulled groin, and he kind of just tried his best. And even K'Wan Williams left with a knee injury. So they played how we expected them to play. I mean, considering even though these wide receivers on the Eagles weren't that experienced, um, you know, we didn't play good, and we got burned towards the end of the game, and it cost us the game essentially.
Um, Something else that really uh, kind of um, helped the other team was our lack of pass rush.
Well, yeah. Well, when you lose a guy like Nick Bosa, All Pro, Rookie of the Year, I believe, Defensive Rookie of the Year, total stud, energy, attitude, and then you lose DeForest Buckner. We traded him because we couldn't afford to sign him, salary cap issues. We can't keep everybody. And then you have Ford. He's been injured. I mean, it's like 70% of his time here. He get paid a lot of money. Ziggy Ansah, our new signee, he even hurt his bicep. We're just playing with a lot of backups right now. We don't have those big monster pass rushers. Even though I got to say, Hyder, this guy, playing pretty solid, containing the outside pass rush. There's a couple plays where they bootleg and they try to fake, and he wasn't faked at all. I believe he snuffed out like a reverse or something like that. He's playing very good. He's been like found gold, to be honest with you. So that's a positive part, but there's no pass rush. It seems like Robert Saleh has to blitz to make up for it. He's got to bring linebackers looping around or whatever just to kind of, get in their face, or even a corner blitz or slot blitz slot blitz. He's got to create pressure. That's never good. We were good last year because our front four could wreak havoc. That's what made us solid. We had a solid rotation, so they're always, energetic. Always ready to go.
How about our late penalties?
Oh man, those penalties. It was third and long, and what I tell you before the play, I was like, please no penalties, please no penalties. Come on, let's get the ball back. What happens? Holding and illegal use of the hands. Automatic first down, keep the drive going, and then they scored a touchdown afterwards. So those penalties were killer at the end. That comes down to discipline.
Our running game was also lacking in that game. They didn't really help our offense at all.
Well, if you look at our stats, I think we averaged like 5.6 yards a carry, but that statistic is kind of diluted in a way because we had Debo coming on our end around. We had Ayuk on an end around. I believe he scored a touchdown from it. So those stats kind of don't tell the real story. McKinnon, I mean, he's solid, but he's no Mozart. I mean, Mozart is he's a beast. That 4.3 speed, you can't make up for that. I don't think McKinnon runs that fast. And Coleman's been out too, and I mean, we're playing with a bunch of backups behind a line that's not blocking well against a monster defensive line anchored by Cox. And I was telling you about that last week. I was like, man, this guy, he's a beast in the middle. He's very disruptive. So, I guess with the injuries of Ansah and K'Wan that we know of, we're still waiting to see, what's going on with them. I think Ansah's out for the year. The torn biceps needs surgery. I remember years ago, Ken Norton Jr. had the same injury with the 49ers, and he was out for the year also. Next man up, we got no choice. I'm trying, just to be honest with you, we didn't play a good game. But there are some pros, too. There are some pros. It wasn't all bad. Not a lot of good things, but it wasn't all bad. What do you think?
So Ayuk had a pretty good touchdown, pretty good game.
Hey, Ayuk, I mean, he's only scratching the surface right now. This guy looks like Debo Part 2. He's not as bulk. He's not like a running back body. He's got long arms. He's got quickness. His yak yards after the catch or after the touch are incredible. I think he was ranked like number 1 in college. That play where you hurl at that defender. I mean, do you want to try out for the Olympics? I mean, the high jump. I mean, whoa, That was amazing. Super athletic, super exciting. That's definitely a pro for our team. I mean, right now we're gonna have him and Debo and Kittle and Bourne and Moser comes back and Coleman. We have a lot of speed, a lot of options for Jimmy G, provided that the offensive line does its job. I mean, it's just gonna be a fruit salad, just a straight buffet for him to do whatever he wants. Okay, Shanahan should be happy, and that was a solid, solid, solid draft pick.
Another receiver that had a good game was Debo Samuel, or he's back.
Debo Samuel, it seemed like he was on a pitch count or a play count. We didn't see him that much, but when he was in there, he was effective. He was aggressive. He was fast. He was sharp. But I think they're kind of trying to get him in the game slowly but surely. Maybe he doesn't have his football lungs yet. Um, he hasn't been hit enough. Of course, there was no preseason, and the training camp was different this year. And they probably just wanted to edge him in the game slowly but surely so it doesn't re-injure his foot.
Um, Kittle just being Kittle.
Well, what could I say? What could I say? Woo! Amazing player. I don't know if he's my favorite player on the team, but he's pretty close if he's not. I mean, the guy's energy. He came back like he never missed a step. He could have probably played last week, but they kept him away just to make sure his knee is okay. That turf, we're not going to talk about that turf out there in New Jersey. But Kittle, man, I love that guy. Tremendous. But Nick Mullins, I think, was trying to force feed him the ball, and it's his cover blanket. I believe they broke the record when Mullins a few years ago threw for, or I think, 160 something yards, and Kittle ended up breaking the single game receiving record for yards. So he's comfortable with him for sure. I'm happy he's back. He looked spry.
Yeah. Another thing that's looking bright for the 49ers is their potential returnings. As you know, the 49ers have been riddled with injuries that have really affected the season so far.
Yeah, well, we're going to wait and see what happens. We're not sure about Sherman yet. I mean, he's essentially served his 3 games IR stint. I'm not sure if he's going to come back against Miami, though. They might keep him out just for precautionary measures. Jimmy G, they're going to see what he's like, how his ankle reacts on Wednesday, I believe, just to see if he's able to roll out. High ankle sprains are not fun. They hurt a lot. You saw how he was hobbling, so we want to make sure that he's good to go. I still have confidence in Nick Mullins, even though we're not sure if it's going to be him or CJ Beathard next week. I don't want to jump on the Beathard bandwagon because Beathard had a great game playing against prevent defense. So all Philadelphia was doing is keeping their people back, just trying to keep the ball in the middle of the field. Take everything away outside so you don't stop the clock, keep everything in the middle. Tackle, don't miss tackles, waste time. So I'm not sure. I know he has a stronger arm, but given that if you were to start that game, I don't know if he would have done that much better. Who else is Mozart? Hopefully he's ready to come back. I'd love to see the Maserati out there with his speed. 4.3 speed is amazing. When you got a guy that fast, the other team has to account for him. It opens up stuff. If you just flare him out left or you flare him out right, it's going to pull linebackers and safeties, and it's going to open up the middle. And I mean, the guy's a matchup nightmare. Absolute nightmare. Another pro is another player. Witherspoon. Well, has he cleared, or is his hamstring okay? They're going to try and see. He's got to run out there. He's got to feel no discomfort. Hamstrings are one of those things that can linger on forever. But hopefully, we'll find out later. And also Mosley. Concussion protocol. When you start talking about the head and concussions and stuff, everything is foggy. It's really difficult to focus. Sometimes he has sensitivity to light and to sound. So hopefully he's okay. And CJ Beathard, we moved up in the draft to get him. We gave up, I think we drafted him in the 3rd round, even though he was projected in the 5th. He's a backup quarterback. We need Jimmy G back, but we got to support them. So that's pretty much the pros and the cons for the 49ers this week. We're going to preview Miami in a couple days. Probably we'll let you know what you think about that game. Hopefully we'll have some injury news by then, so we can have a better idea of who's gonna play and who's not gonna play. All right, I'll check you in a little bit.